And what's up, guys? Sorry I'm late on the live weather update tonight. I actually lost track of time. I'm just not really feeling good. Um, but I'm gonna go as much details as possible, even though we're still a little. Oops. Okay. So, um, we're gonna break down some details. First, we're gonna break down currently what's happening tonight around Lake Michigan with the lake affecting portions of western Michigan. Then we're gonna go ahead and talk about the long track forecast going into this weekend with the winter storm. So, always the model I trust for being short range when it comes to lake effect or any winter storm system, like the NDFD forecast model off of Weatherbell. Very nice to watch. And go over here and check out what is the NDFD forecast model showing at this point. So we'll probably just go out all the way till Thursday night tomorrow. So it's showing we get some heavy lake effect there happening across the upper UP of Michigan. They got some winter weather advisories up there, obviously, for locations picking up, up to 10 inches of snow in some locations are possible. And then you get some light lake effect happening across portions of southwest or western Michigan from tonight into probably Thursday night. Some locations picking up anywhere between 2 and 5 inches around that area. And then we go in from Friday into Friday night. So Thursday into Friday night, lake effect gets heavier around the upper UP of Michigan. More cold air coming in with this next small clipper system, or this next small system coming in across the central U.S., bringing some light snow. We'll talk about that in a second, but behind that, bringing in another wave of energy and some colder air behind that, kicking in more lake effect across portions of western Michigan. So we're going to have lake effect across portions of the lake effect belts across western Michigan and upper UP of Michigan starting tonight into Thursday. And then once that other small system comes across the central U.S. Tomorrow, that'll bring in more energy and also maybe some more tunneling winds down the lake to kind of convert those bands as a few dominant bands. We could get some more isolated areas up to maybe 5 inches of snow in some locations across southwest and western Michigan. But if the winds still remain west-northwest, they're kind of be unorganized unless the winds are in some of the areas are out of the northwest and kind of convert some of that snow into more dominant bands. Like you can see, it's piling up there near west of Gaylord, Michigan, upper Michigan up there. There's probably a couple dominant bands with the northwest wind up there, where those bands kind of go across from Lake Superior and then channel into portions of Lake Michigan and then into the upper Michigan area. So that's usually how that works. And then we go down here to Illinois, obviously, Indiana area. That's that next clipper system coming in tomorrow. So you can see Iowa's probably going to pick up maybe 1 to 3 inches out of this system coming in tomorrow through tomorrow night, while some locations across central Illinois into central and northern Indiana pick up anywhere between a dusting to maybe 2 inches. And then I think this snow is probably going to be a little bit more fluffier, maybe towards the wet side. I'm not sure. I think our upper air temperatures are probably a little bit more colder now with our first system passing in, but probably not as fluffy. Not seeing any freezing rain out of anything over the next 48 hours or so that's good. What about our winds, though? What is our wind gust here over the next? So tonight, winds are gusting into Wednesday, mostly into the 20s and 30s. And then with that lake effect a little bit kicking in across portions of southwestern and western Michigan, you see the winds start to kick up a little bit more with the passage of the system tomorrow. Like a little bit more lake effect kicks in over there, but the winds for the most part across much of the our region area, probably 20-30 gusts for the most part, open areas with every single system that kind of until this weekend's snow system, and that's the one we're currently watching. So on the European model here, we'll go over here to winter. We'll go over here to how much snow. Well, here's the European model. See how the European model is very interesting, showing some heavier lake effect versus the NTFD forecast model for over the next 48 hours. So got to watch western Michigan there, especially near Kalamazoo. There could be some extra lake effect once that system passes and the winds switch out of the northwest or the west-northwest. They could convert more inland and drop maybe heavier snow towards Kalamazoo area along the 94 corridor between tonight into Thursday morning or Thursday afternoon. So we'll have to watch that. But the European model obviously shows the next system coming through, which is tomorrow. Um, Basically similar to what the NDFD forecast model is showing, besides what the lake effect is trying to do up there across portions of western, southwest Michigan area. NDFD up there is only supposed to show like 2 to 5. All the European models trying to signal out some locations up to 6 to 7. And then we go, you can see how the lake effect starting to pick up more there across portions of southwestern western Michigan. But you can see that our winter storm system there. You see that snow there going like this. You see how it's doing that. The so usually when we get a system passing to our south, we'll get a north wind there where lake effect snow bands could come into portions of the north side of Chicago suburbs, and usually the high resolution models pick up it better than the global models on how intense this band's gonna happen. So don't be surprised this band, if it does set up nicely, depending on how far south this system goes, for our weekend snowstorm, that lake effect snowbank going into the north side of the suburbs of Chicago could do maybe like 3 to 8 inches of snow, maybe more depending on how strong that the band does come in. But there's our snowstorm there coming in, starting, what is this, Saturday night into Sunday morning, and then into Monday morning. So 2 days it takes to cross all 3 states here, and that's what the European model is showing. So looking like a very strong winter storm here coming into portions of the central tier of the U.S. They're going across Missouri, so obviously you got to worry about Kansas City. There's has some big time trouble there, crossing all those areas. Let's go ahead and go to regions. Let's go to Indiana. Okay, here we go. That's the look I wanted to look at. So the European model shows it going across portions of eastern Kansas, all of northern Missouri. So you got those highways there. You go between Kansas City and Quincy, Illinois. That's going to be terrible, especially if this happens like this going through the St. Louis, Missouri area. St. Louis is going to have some big time trouble there as well. Just trying to get around some of the areas there of heavy snow, because people that drive in St. Louis, Missouri, it's troublesome even when there's just a little bit of light rain or fog. You put a foot of snow into St. Louis, Missouri during rush hour, you're just asking for trouble. So, and that's not even the worst part. What I'm really worried about is this freezing rain. Look at these freezing rain accumulations here on the south side. Depending on where this system goes, the south side of St. Louis, Missouri could see freezing rain, while the north side in the city sees a heavy snow. And what makes this very bad is, I'm going to go over here to Pivotal here for a second and show you guys what makes this really bad, is that the system isn't just coming out of the south and moving northeast, where usually, you get the freezing rain on the north side, but then warm air somehow is on the back side, which switches over the rain and then melts all the freezing rain, but the system's moving west to east. So therefore, the freezing rain is going to be moving very smooth west to east, and the rain's to its south, so some of that freezing rain is just going to freeze up and still stay frozen on untreated roadways behind the system either way. So it's going to be troublesome. So let's go over here. Okay. So this is Sunday morning. System's starting to get a little bit more organized. But look at that freezing rain line there. You can see the rain's to the south. And look at your temperatures right over the freezing rain. You go from 33 to 28, 29 degrees. Usually when your temperatures are 29 degrees or lower in freezing rain, and it's not coming down like really heavy, where it's ponding and it won't have a chance to freeze on contact, usually you have a really good freezing rain event, like an ice storm event. So then you can see those temperatures right there with the freezing rain, especially on the backside. Maybe some warm air there trying to curve around to the backside of the low. But like for the most part, the cold air is still right there, and the warm air is not invading where the freezing rain line is. So we go back over here to the freezing rain line. Look at that. That's a lot of freezing rain there. that the European model's been very consistent over the last several runs. I go back to the 12Z run, the run before that, yesterday's run. It's all very consistent over the last 4 runs now, showing where this freezing rain line is going to be here, and that's significant freezing rain. I'm really worried that we're going to have a big time ice storm across many states, so it's going to be big time travel impacts around going into this weekend. So if you have to travel through Missouri, I would definitely just avoid like this weekend, especially Sunday and the Monday, because you're going to have issues. Many times when they have a significant snowstorm in Missouri, it only takes a few accidents on that major interstate that connects between Springfield to Joplin, up to St. Louis, Missouri. They'll shut that down. They don't play. So you got that freezing rain here, and you got the snow up to the north. So you got the freezing rain, and you got the snow, freezing rain, and then the snow. I mean, it's going to be a major snowstorm, and that's just a European forecast model. We go over here to the Canadian. It's updating currently. That's why. Go back to the 12Z run. Here's the Canadian model. You see, it's a little bit more further north than what the European model was showing, which is interesting. Like, it still tells you that there's still more wobble room to either move more north or more south. But the European model went south a couple days ago, and it's slowly starting to come back north. So we still don't know where the exact positioning of this low is going to track, if it's going to be further north or further south. But we'll know probably by Wednesday or Thursday. We'll know for sure where a possible positioning of the track of the system is, if it's further north or south, at least being like 2 days out. Higher resolution models will pick up, and we'll kind of know. So, but this is the Canadian model. What does the Canadian model know for freezing rain? Look at that. That is a ton of freezing rain. Those bridges in Louisville would be devastating to drivers. All these bridges here that crosses the Mississippi River, and these other rivers as well, especially going through the upper terrain of Kentucky and northern Tennessee, if you get freezing rain, just a light glaze or up to 1/10 of an inch or a quarter of an inch of freezing rain, all those higher terrain and downslopes and those steep terrain and those upclines, it'll be really bad for freezing rain, especially if they're not keeping up with the treated surfaces. So like I said, I think the main concern with this system is either going to be the snow or the ice storm potential. And then you have severe weather down south as well. But this is the Canadian model showing the intense freezing rain. Don't pay too much of attention to what the accumulation is going to be. But just know that the positioning of the freezing rain is almost identical to what the European model is showing here. Right? So we go back to that. We go back to the Canadian now. Oops. Go back to the Canadian now. You see the positioning with the freezing rain is almost identical to the European model. And we go over to the GFS here. GFS is currently updating right now, so we'll go to 18Z. The GFS is still a little bit more further south compared to what the Canadian, the Icon, and the European model is saying. So at this point, the GFS could be an outlier. But like I said, we're still a little more farther out, so we still have to wait till at least 48 hours in advance to know where, what better ideal positioning for this system, because I still think the GFS is the only outlier at this point, unless the 00Z update that's coming out right now fixes itself a little bit more north, then it would be basically cave into the European model and Canadian model at this point. But the GFS model is still south. Go over here to what is it showing for snow. That's what it's showing basically for snow. Oops. Yep. So that system is basically showing some big time snow totals going into St. Louis, Missouri. Missouri, either way, between every single forecast model just shows Missouri getting nailed with this snow system here going into this weekend. So that's basically what we're looking at here at this impactful winter storm here going into the end of the weekend. Let's see here. So let's go back over to the European model. And you can see the different positionings here. That's the European. That's the Canadian model and the positioning of that. and then we go over to the GFS. Oh, the GFS just updated. Okay. So the GFS just went north. There you go. You got the confirmation. There you go, guys. The GFS just agreed with the European model and the Canadian model shifting back north. Look, this is the 18Z run. That's the 000 run now. 000 run is currently updating right now, and it just shifted back north. So you guys, I mean, look at this. So the 12Z run was further south. 18Z came back north a little bit. Now the 000 run on the GFS officially shifted way back north on this update. So continue to watch the wobble here. If it keeps continuing the trend to shift back north, that means northern Illinois, portions of central Illinois would be back in the bullseye for a significant winter storm going into this weekend. But if it would shift south, obviously you know the outcome to it. But here we are again. It just shifted back north again. So continuing to watch this shift in the forecast models is very fun to watch. But you can see here, if the GFS model, if we go all the way back to the 06Z yesterday, then the 12Z, you can see it started out south, 18Z earlier, and then this is the 000 run. So if we go over here to the GFS model and kind of take a look and see what's happening here, and you can see the 000 run is in agreement with the Canadian and European model on the freeze and rain, because the 18Z earlier was really too far south. You see that, right? Now the 00Z GFS shifted back north, which is in good agreement of the current European model, right? So we're all in agreement now that we're all kind of shifting back north a bit now on today's runs. A tad, maybe like 3 counties further southwest with a low positioning than what the European model was showing. European model was showing of a positioning over Joplin City at this exact time frame on the European model, but the GFS is like over Tulsa, Oklahoma at this point. So there's still different positionings, but we're getting closer to better agreement on where the potential heaviest precipitation is in the setup at. But we do know that the GFS model just shifted back north over a couple 100 miles or so with the freeze and rain line, and also the heaviest of the snow precipitation line. But what is our potential wind gust with this system when it comes in? So it looks like there is definitely be some heavy winds there with the snow, with the the heaviest of the precipitation of the snow there, with the initial part coming in. So it looks like maybe some 30-40 gusts, but the high resolution models will probably pick up a better idea when we get closer. What is the European model showing? So European model showing some gusty winds as well. Obviously, for you to have blizzard criteria, you still have to have like 35 to 40 gusts for at least consistently for 3 hours. So probably not looking at blizzard conditions with this system, but probably more likely of ice storm warnings and winter storm warnings for the most part, unless the high resolution models pick up on something that we can't see. But other than that, that's what we're currently looking at here. But the GFS model just shifted back north, so yeah, look at that. That's what the GFS model just did. It shifted back north, and now it has all of the main accumulation now to the north, and it has the bullseye of the heaviest precipitation over the north side of St. Louis, and that means St. Louis could possibly be in the freeze and rain on this update, which it does have the south suburbs of freeze and rain in there, but don't get fooled, because like I said, we're still a little more, we're still several days out from the system. But the European model, the GFS, and the Canadian model now all agree on tonight's positioning of the freeze and rain line and the heaviest of the snow accumulation line. So they all do agree. I guess we continue to watch this to see what the trend is going into tomorrow. But this is currently what we're looking at here on this trend and how everything's unfolding here. So But currently, it's nothing much to worry about till at least Thursday. If Thursday and this track is still holding, then I would definitely worry about if you live in St. Louis, because there'd be a lot of travel impacts, especially if you're going into Missouri where there's ice accumulations up to an inch. That's big time. But usually when you get like heavy um, freezing rainfall and all at once, it ponds. And it has a hard time freezing unless there's some very cold air on the backside of the system where it's like instant freeze. So we just continue watching the trend and see what happens at this point. Um, but like I said, going into like the next couple of days with the system coming in tomorrow, obviously, just watching the system that comes in tomorrow. Even the NAM3 cam only shows like a trace to maybe 2 inches with the system that comes in tomorrow after in the evening. But other than that, if you guys have any more questions or any more concerns, make sure to reach out to me. You can hit that like and follow and share button. Make sure to scan that barcode for all my social media. You can follow me on Twitter and Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, all the social media. Most of the social media I'm active on is Twitter and Facebook with podcast posts, but a lot of my videos are on TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook. And then also, if you have a business and like to be advertised on my weather pages, it does help fund everything that I'm doing. So stay tuned, stay safe, and this is going to be a very fun, big time first winter storm system of 2025 to start the year. So it's going to be fun, guys.